I'm ready. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Butte-Silver Bow Council of Commissioners regular meeting for Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024 to order. Clerk, could we please?
1, 2, 3, 4.
1 presiding, 7 present, 4 absent.
Thank you. Commissioner Sorich, would you please lead us in the prayer and the pledge?
Thank you, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which will greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver Bow. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we'll move to public comment on any items on tonight's agenda. If there are any members of the public who would like to comment on any items on the agenda, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and which item you'd like to be speaking on. And there's a little button on the base of the microphone. And there you go. You're ready to go.
Hi, Madam Chair and members of the council. For the record, my name is Tina Randall, 5 Redwood Drive. And tonight I'm here to express my strong support for Council Resolution 2024-56 to recognize and celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday of each October. I have the privilege to serve as the Executive Director for the Butte Native Wellness Center. We are the local urban Indian organization, and in my role, every day I have the honor of witnessing the rich history, culture, and contributions of Indigenous peoples across Indian country, and especially right here in Butte-Silver Bow. Montana is the traditional homeland for several tribes, and it's currently home to 12 sovereign tribes. The land on which we are gathered tonight served as common hunting grounds for all of those tribes. So if Butte is truly a melting pot of cultures, we would be remiss if we don't recognize the first peoples of this land by recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day. Indigenous cultures offer invaluable wisdom and perspectives that enrich our society. Recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day would help us appreciate this diversity and foster a deeper understanding of our shared humanity. It's an opportunity for all of us to learn about the histories and the struggles of Indigenous peoples, and it's a chance to educate ourselves and promote empathy and respect. By recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day, you will demonstrate that you are willing to acknowledge the past, celebrate the present, and work toward a future rooted in mutual respect and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Randall. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak on something on tonight's agenda? Welcome. Please turn the mic on and state your name and address for the record. Thank you. One more click. There you go.
How about there?
Yep.
Okay. Jay Fortune, 116205 Starlight Road. Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm glad I'm standing up here again. I would like to talk about Resolution 23, Communication Number 2024480 on doing the final plat for the Cornerstone Minor Subdivision, which I think everybody knows what it is. It's the hole that we have filled on Harrison Avenue. We are a general contractor, and I'd like to thank actually Julia, JP, Force from WET. They have worked, I don't know how they even pulled it off, doing all the work that needed to be done. So Julia, you need to be thanked because we've asked for some hurdles. We have been selected as a contractor to start the project down there. As you guys know, my son's one of the commissioners up here. I believe they are going to do 5 to 6 commercial buildings, and I think you'll see them come out saying what they are in the near future. I think one of the hurdles was we had to get this plat filed so that the permits could be sold. But if anybody's been by there, we have job trailers, we have the building staked out, we have equipment on site, and we're ready to go. by getting this signed and approved, it gets us coming out of the ground. I think it'll be great for the community. I think it creates a lot of jobs for subcontractors, ourselves, and when the buildings are complete, I think it's going to generate a lot of jobs for people. So thank you guys for your time, and I hope you guys will pass this tonight, and I feel you will pass it tonight because it's a great deal for Butte. So thank you, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fortune. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak on any item on tonight's agenda? The mic's already on, so go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
Lower it a little. My name's Colin Hanson from 525 West Silver Street. I don't have the details in front of me, but I would like to speak in support of the resolution to recognise Indigenous Peoples Day. Speaking as a recent immigrant to Butte, one of Butte's most recent, I'd imagine, also as a historian, I echo everything that was said previously. I also feel, as a result of my studies, I've come to understand a lot more of the role Indigenous peoples played in Butte's history, which is very often overlooked. But at the same time, the role Butte played in the wider Montana history of Indigenous peoples here, I think if this was passed, it's an opportunity for Butte to recognise its failings in the past, but also to celebrate the role it played and to address not just the injustices, but as I say, an opportunity to celebrate figures such as Frank Lindeman, who lived in Butte, and to just recognise the role Butte played, the connections between Butte and Timber Butte at the turn of the century and the current Rocky Boy Reservation. There are direct links. And I feel that would be another reason to vote in support of this motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public that would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the approval of the minutes from the September 18th, 2024 regular meeting. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from September 18th, 2024, the regular meeting.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the September 18th regular meeting. Is there anything on the question? Will everybody please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Now for items not addressed on the agenda, we have a few resolutions for suspension of the rules later in the agenda. We'll get to those here in a little bit. For the Chief Executive's report, this is a regular meeting. Obviously, I'm not the Chief Executive, but I'm chairing the meeting tonight. The Chief Executive and some department heads and some other folks, Commissioner Morgan, they are at the Montana League of Cities and Towns Convention. Also, I wanted to let everybody know that the Montana Emergency Managers Association Conference is here in Butte this week. I had the opportunity to stop in there yesterday and meet some really cool people who do some really valuable things for their communities. So if you get an opportunity, if you see an emergency management truck around, stop and shake their hand and thank them for the job that they do. And then last thing is, we're just a little more than 1 month away from the general election. It's getting down to the wire to register to vote early. You can always register and vote all the way up until Election Day, I believe. Is that correct, Ross? Thank you. So I want you to be sure to, if you think you're registered to vote, please go to vote.org and check your registration. Make sure that you haven't been removed from the rolls. If you're not there, get a hold of our clerk and recorder's office. They're going to fix you up. They're going to get you registered and make sure that you can vote during the general election, which is really super important. Moving to Section 1, bid openings, public hearings, and/or presentations. Item number 1, communication number 2024-457. Kelly Hazlett, Tibid Tourism Director, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a presentation of the Butte-Silver Bow Tourism Business Improvement District Work Plan and Budget on September 25th, 2024, and to schedule a public hearing on October 2nd, 2024. We had that presentation last week, and so I would like a representative from the TBID, Kelly or Steph, to just give us a quick update before we open the public hearing.
Hello, Council. Today, I'm here to represent the T-bid and our work plan along with our resolution that we have with Kelly 5E. Right now, we are going to stay at $1 from what I understand. I don't know if the council has met on this, Madam Chairwoman, but I would like to let the council know that we would like everybody to know that I am the middleman. However, I believe that all parties are interested in working together at some level, and that we would like the airport's planning to begin with us during our next T-bid meeting. So that is where I'm going to leave it, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay, thank you very much. Do any
Thank you.
commissioners have any questions before we open the public hearing? No, seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
County Attorney 5E, do we have proof of publication for both of them?
Madam Chair, for both public hearings today, there is proof of publication, and it appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll open the public hearing. First call for proponents. Are there any proponents? Second call for proponents. Third and final call for proponents. Now I'll call for opponents. Second call for opponents. Third and final call for opponents. Okay, I'll close this public hearing. Item number 2, communication number 2024-448, Angie Mulliken, Public Works Budget Manager, requesting Council of Commissioners concurrence to schedule a public hearing on October 2nd, 2024 for the sole source of Neptune meters for the meter replacement program. Ms. Mulliken, would you please give us an update?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Angie Mulliken. I'm the Budget and Grants Manager for Public Works.
Would you pull the mic down closer? Thank you.
I mean, you want to hear me?
Yes, thank you.
This public hearing is to solicit comments on sole sourcing the Neptune meters for the metering program for the Water Utility Division. Sole sourcing is necessary because the Neptune system is what the city county uses for metering the city county and collecting the usage data. And it would be cost prohibitive to replace the entire metering system. The new meter program is designed to replace our older meters throughout the city county that are past their life expectancy and are no longer reading the usage data correctly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do any commissioners have any questions for Ms. Mulliken? Okay, seeing none, thank you. I'll open the public hearing. First call for proponents. Second call for proponents. Third and final call for proponents. Moving on to opponents. First call for opponents. Second call for opponents. Third and final call for opponents. I'll close the public hearing. Moving on to Section 2, Consent Agenda. Consent Agenda. A, Committee Reports 1 through 4, and B, Communications 1 through 25. Are there any friendly amendments or segregations? Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to segregate number 15, communication number 2024-472.
Okay, that's number 15, communication 2024-472.
And also communication number 2024-482. Thank you.
482.
Yes, ma'am.
That's item 25, 2024-482. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to segregate number 2, communication number 2024-459, communication number 8, communication number 2024-465, and number 16, communication number 2024-473.
Okay, so that's number 2, 2024-459, number 8, 2024-465, and number 16, 2024-473. Okay. I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, Section A, 1 through 4, Section B, with the exceptions of number 2, communication number 2024-459, number 8, communication number 2024-465, number 15, communication number 2024-472, number 16, communication number 2024-473, and number 25, communication number 2024-482.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of number 2, 2024-459, number 8, 2024-465, number 15, 2024-472, 16, 2024-473, and 25, 2024-482. Is there anything on the question? Will everyone please? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to item number 2, communication number 2024-459. J.P. Gallagher, Chief Executive, informing the Council of Commissioners that he fully supports Chairwoman Michelle Shea's resolution to recognize October 14th, 2024 as Indigenous Peoples' Day in Butte-Silver Bow. I had asked Commissioner Thatcher to segregate this because the Chief Executive has written a letter and he asked me to read it into the record, so I'll go ahead and do that now. Dear Council of Commissioners, I fully support Commissioner Michelle Shea's resolution to recognize October 14th, 2024 as Indigenous Peoples' Day in Butte-Silver Bow. Our community and state have a rich and vibrant history that includes many Indigenous communities. This day is meant to recognize the resilience and importance of Native peoples in the face of historical and ongoing challenges. It is a day for us as a community to recognize the significant historical and current contributions of these peoples. I ask that we all take time to learn about Indigenous history, culture, and participate in opportunities provided by them. I encourage all of you to support this resolution to recognize Indigenous Peoples' Day in this community. Sincerely, Chief Executive J.P. Gallagher. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. With that, I would like to make a motion to note and place on file communication number 2024-459.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to place communication number 2024-459 to note and place on file. Is there anything on the question? Would everyone please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving to item number 8, communication number 2024-465, Robert Whalen, 2nd Judicial District Court Judge, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign an agreement for the Butte-Silver Bow Veterans Treatment Court, BSB VTC. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. It does sound like there were some other things going on with this grant. So we were asked to have a new communication submitted. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to note and place on file communication number 2024-465.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to note and place on file communication number 2024-465. Is there anything on the question? Would everybody please vote? Your vote didn't take. Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to item number 15, communication number 2024-472. Beth Worm, Butte-Silver Bow Human Resources Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign a memorandum of understanding between the City County of Butte-Silver Bow and the Silver Bow Stationary Engineers Local Union Number 400 of the International Union of Operating Engineers, AFL-CIO Painters. Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming tonight, Beth. I just segregated this basically to have a few questions about where we're at as far as settling with all the union contracts out there. And I know there's a few difficulties which we can't talk about. But on the percentile of, I was at the bargaining table a lot, Could you give me an approximation about maybe three-quarter, two-thirds? And everybody's on the same page that has settled, correct?
Director Worm.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Reardon. So one thing to note about this one is the second to last contract from almost last fiscal year. That's kind of finalizing, so this one will actually open up again in about 2 months. But I'd say for this current kind of fiscal year, I would maybe like a fourth, and that's just a rough guess. But yeah, they're all in various states of, mediation, negotiation, IBB negotiation. So they're all at different stages.
Alrighty.
Commissioner Reardon, follow up.
All right, so we're getting close and all that. It's just nice to have an update where we're at, because I'm sure you've seen some things out there and all that stuff, and I've had some questions from my constituents and all that, and I just want to thank you for the job you do and the effort that you put forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon. Would you like to make a motion?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chairperson. Shay. Yeah, I was just questioning, it looks like these guys changed unions. They used to be in the painters union. Now they're getting into the operating engineers union. And we have 2 painters, right? Are they both getting in? Or I think in the past one was in, one wasn't?
Director Worm.
Commissioner Callahan, I don't know the exact dates, but this is actually the second year of the contract that the painters have been with the operators. They decertified previously from the painters union, were non-union for a period of time, and then joined up with the operators under their own contract specifically for the 2 painters, and they're both part of that agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Worm. Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I would like to concur and place on file communication number 2024-472.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to concur and place on file communication number 2024-472. Is there anything on the question? Would everybody please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
Eight yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to item number 16, communication number 2024-473. Julia Crane, Butte-Silver Planning Director, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to have Chief Executive Gallagher sign the final plat of the Blacktail Creek Major Subdivision. Should the final plat be approved, a resolution is also provided on this agenda. I believe this was Commissioner Thatcher. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. Hello, Planning Director Crane. I'm just thinking back. So we had this meeting back in May of last year, and we had a lot of public comment on this matter specifically. People worried about nitrate levels, wells, and all of that with a new development coming in. I have read your attachments, and I see that those have been satisfied. Those requirements by DEQ have been satisfied, and that's what we were waiting for. So I guess I just am hoping that you can touch on that a little bit, what that went through, so then the general public, and we have it on the record for sure how this process came about.
Go ahead,
Chairwoman
Director
Shea, sorry. I just like to talk over people. I'm sorry. Chairwoman Shea, Commissioner Thatcher. This evening I have the subdividing entity, Gary Fox, here with us. He is the subdivider, and he has prepared a presentation for you, and then we can go into a little bit more detail about the specifics of the questions. Gary, would you mind joining up here? Gary is the subdividing entity and also a civil engineer by trade. So he will walk you through some of the processes that this has gone through and the evaluation that this has gone through with the State of Montana Department of Environmental Quality, understanding that this particular subdivision did have to address some questions from the neighbors about water levels in the area. And so Gary, you can paginate through here with just the thing.
Go ahead, Mr. Fox.
Thanks for having me up here. I'll try to be pretty brief. Gary Fox, I was up here 18 months ago for the preliminary plat, and I'm back. During that last 18 months, we've been working hard with DEQ on getting the approvals, and we finally got that approval about 3 months ago, and then started this final plat process. So I'll give you a little bit of background here. You can stop me if you need. We're south of Butte, 3 miles next to Warren Heights. It's been a sensitive subject, the groundwater availability and the groundwater quality for this project, and really for 20 years since the Bureau of Mines and Geology did some studies 20 years ago that were released south of Butte for this area. So we knew we had to address that, and I think we've done a good job. I think we've been very sensitive to the neighbors. Let's see. So kind of overview on the project. This is the lot layout. You can see here 11 lots. There's 8 homes on those lots. There's an existing road that goes north-south through the property. That'll be improved, and drainage will be improved. There's a new trail that we have to build on the west side of the property, adjacent to Continental. Like I said, last 18 months, we've coordinated with a lot of different people. I've talked to the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology, Septic Net, and WET. We're using their treatment technology for each drain field. That's the highest level of treatment in the state of Montana. And so that checks off kind of the groundwater quality issue. As far as the water availability issue, we were required to drill a well on site and pump test that well, do a long-term pump test. We did that and found adequate water for the subdivision. We also did some monitoring of wells and static water levels adjacent and on site, and found that the static water level is there, it's adequate. It's actually about the same as it was 20 years ago when there was the study. Part of the issue with this is that the bedrock, it's a fractured bedrock aquifer, and so it's not extremely productive. You're not going to hit a whole bunch of water, and it's not extremely predictable. You're not going to hit, like the fractures are at varying depths. But there is water there. It's adequate. As we've seen, there's 70 wells in that same aquifer, and we'll have 8 new wells, 7 new, I guess there's 1 out there. Anyways, just some benefits. New housing, it's just a little bit new housing, a new trail. It aligns with the comprehensive plan. I've got some slides. I'll try to get through these. Again, it's been a long process. 2.5 years ago, we started with the county, and 1.5 years ago, we kind of started with DEQ. Next steps would be to do the improvements to improve the road and drainage. I know I'm answering more than your question. That's the comprehensive plan. It's suburban residential. It's not zoned. The area has sustained quite a bit of growth over the last 50 years since Warren Heights was platted. There's been quite a few homes built just around this area since 2014. The rate of growth in that area, I don't think it's not going to shoot up with this new development. It's going to be about the same. It's going to be steady, just a slow continued growth of single-family residential. This is about 1 home per 2 acres, so they've got quite a bit of room. There's a lot of wells. All the blue dots here are the existing groundwater wells per the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology online database. This is about what it would look like in the future. We have a couple more wells. The aquifer itself, the groundwater is recharged through a big area. It's a large drainage basin that goes all the way up the mountain. It's precipitation, snow melt, natural recharge, and that is sustainable, and that's, DEQ found that there's adequate water between 200 feet and 600 feet, and that's written on the permit, and this is just kind of how it's recharged. Well productivity, 10 to 50 gallons per minute on average. An average home needs 6 to 12 gallons per minute. It is adequate. I said a little bit about the fractured bedrock aquifer. Groundwater monitoring, we did some of ours. There's also some long-term groundwater monitoring in the area nearby, which has shown, it's been 20 years of data, and it's not shown a substantial decrease in groundwater. Anyways, we also did an electroseismic report that found water. DEQ found that there was water. DNRC approved the water use. O'Keefe did the pump testing, and I've talked to them, and they found adequate water. So It was a sensitive subject 18 months ago, and I've been proactive with the neighbors. I've talked to them. I feel like I've done that through this process. Yep. Water limitations are another thing. This slide kind of shows it. The new lots will not be able to irrigate very much. The 6,000 square feet is, those little blue dots is about how much they could irrigate. That makes it so the vast majority of the water that comes out of the ground goes back into the ground. When you have big lawns, right, we're losing plenty of water to evaporation. Thank you, Julia. There's big setbacks. All the new wells are at least 200 feet away from the old wells. Irrigation's minimal. I said these new wells are down gradient, so groundwater's moving to the northwest, and all the new wells are northwest of Warren Heights. We've got the hydrogeologic study. The density of the homes and wells is less than existing. Right now it's 1 well per acre, and this will be 1 well per 2 acres. Water quality, septic net. Thank you for allowing me to do this presentation, by the way. Septic net, I've been working with those guys. That's advanced treatment to 7.5 milligrams per liter. Goes back. That's the nitrate concentration that goes back into the groundwater. Current groundwater quality right now varies from about 0 to 9 milligrams per liter, so it's kind of going back in at or cleaner than it was. Summary of some of the nitrate testing that's been done previously and we've done. It's just some of the data. There's a lot of data in the area. Another slide on access, so that the road is there, so that there's no substantial disturbance, new disturbance needed for these lots. Pedestrian trail will be built on the west side of the property. Low density residential is what we're doing. There's an aerial photo of kind of what it looks like. You're kind of looking south. So the Warren Heights plat was 1973, showed the area as commercial. We're not doing commercial development. We're doing low density residential. And this is it. I think this is the last slide. My wife and I bought this property as a development opportunity. It was listed as such. We bought it kind of knowing what we're getting into, but not really. And it's been a long process, it's been an expensive process. But I think I was the right person to do this. And I know I kind of said this last time. I'm a civil engineer by trade. The neighbors have tried to subdivide this property previously, and that failed mostly due to the groundwater quality. Right, there was not a septic system that was good enough to treat for this area because of high nitrates. Now there's septic net. Now WET has developed this technology that we're going to use. I'm a civil engineer. I think that helped me step sensitively and thoughtfully through this process and be patient. And so that's kind of my. And the other thing is I feel a responsibility now to see this out and to continue to do this right. And I think I've done a good job. And Julia's helped, and I've had a lot of help from a lot of people, really, in the county and DEQ and DNRC and O'Keefe and everybody. So thank you. That's the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Commissioners have some questions. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. Honestly, no questions just yet. I just, this was a sensitive, like you said, topic over a year and a half ago now. And so I just really appreciate you came very well prepared for this to be segregated. And so I commend you for that. I guess it looks like there are some other commissioners that have questions, so I'll just wait to find out.
Okay. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Shea. I've got a question, an agenda item allowing a presentation. That doesn't seem to be allowing the other side to tell their story like the people we had here last time when we had a hall full of people. To have somebody on an agenda item looking for a signature from the chief executive and then allow a person to come up here and do a presentation, that doesn't seem right to me. So I would make a motion at this time that we hold communication number 2024-473 in abeyance for further review from the residents in that area. Thank you.
There's a motion and a second to hold this communication in abeyance. On the question, Commissioner O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate I believe that it was more of a question that ended up into a presentation. It was a long-winded, great question, or I guess great answer, and I actually appreciated it. it very much. There was a, this was a very sore subject or whatever. I just do want to commend you for the work that you have done. I don't know how much money you have into this, but the development that you're trying to do and move forward, again, I'll repeat myself, I do commend you for that, because I can only imagine how much it truly cost you, and good work on that. So I don't know. We're at the point where we can approve this, and this is a positive thing for we need housing in Butte, Montana. All the good players were involved in this. When I say players, all the smart people, environmentally safe, nitrate, all the stuff that I have no idea about. Thank God there people are out there that do that. So, I'm all for it. I was all for it before. Again, we need housing in Butte, Montana. To develop these lots is a great thing. The process and procedures that he went through all these times, all these months, I could only imagine. Dealing with the DEQ and the entities, no, nothing against them, but right, it's a big process. He is here. He's here to do it, to develop it and put some houses up. There's only 11 lots or 9 houses. It's adding to the whole subdivision. Anyways, good job on all the hard work you've done, and thanks for coming to Butte and developing them lots so other 9 more houses can be in our community. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Neill. Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Chairperson Shea. I just want to comment on, I think what we did when we motioned the last time he was here was to hold it in abeyance or put it on hold until they got all the answers for all the people that were here. And I believe the gentleman got all those questions answered as far as we heard tonight. It sounds like he's already had discussions with the folks that were here in the past, I believe, is what we're being told. Is that not true?
Go ahead, Director Crane.
Madam Chairwoman, Commissioner Callahan, that is correct. This precedes my involvement as the director of the department. However, in reviewing the record, this body approved this preliminary plat on the 7th of June of 2023. So there has been due consideration of the information that has been put forward. Staff did supply the public information that was supplied by the members of this neighborhood to the Department of Environmental Quality upon their request to ensure that they were in the approval of the sanitary information for this, addressing the public comment upon their review and then subsequent approval of the sanitary restrictions that were necessary on these properties, given not only the location and the sensitivity of the bedrock aquifer, but also its proximity to the creek and ensuring that there is no nitrate discharge further loading into the stream. In terms of the presentation, if I may address that, because of the highly technical nature of water quality discussions, Gary did bring the data to you for your consideration this evening because it was not something that I could speak to from an expertise perspective in water quality analysis.
Thank you, Director Crane. Follow up?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I totally agree with Commissioner Fisher on we should be cautious and make sure we get this right. But I also sounds to me like these folks did their homework, the DEQ and everybody that was involved turned around and gave them the go-ahead light. I don't know what we would gain by holding it one more week.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Reardon? Thank you, Commissioner Callahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember when we approved this conditional plot and all that stuff, and I think we owe it to the people that live in that subdivision. I, too, am a big proponent. Pardon me? Oh,
Please keep it on the record over there. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm a big proponent of housing and all that. When we initially addressed this deal, I would say that there was probably 20 to 25 people from that subdivision out there that had concerns. And I'm just going to throw this out at you. I know about 8 families that live out there. They're my age group and all that. that have been keeping me filled in, and they haven't been sitting on their haunches either. They have sought legal representation, and also are following a case from the Montana Supreme Court regarding water distribution. So I think that we really got to look at this. I'm for affordable housing, but we still have an issue here that we have to look at. We have to look at this legal. We have to hear from these people. I understand that maybe you were communicating with these people, but a lot of those people have had concerns before you wanted to develop this with the water and the amount of water that was available. Aquifer is a funny thing. You're a civil engineer and all that stuff. One storm can change the aquifer. One storm can change the grade. But I think that we owe it to the people rather than approving and jumping on the bandwagon right now, where we have those 20 or 25 people here to voice their opinions and let them, us know what they have found out legally. So a motion has been made to hold this, and it's been seconded, and I would like to call for a vote if there's no other commissioners that have any input. Thank you.
As the chair, I will take the liberty to mention that if we approve this, it goes to the Judiciary Committee and starts the process of the public comment. There's all kinds of opportunity for public involvement. This agenda has been posted since last Friday as well. So you saw tonight there was no public comment on this particular item, nor any comment for the public, either one of the public hearings, which is kind of bums me out too. But I just want to talk about what the process is as far as where we're at right now. Concurring with this and placing it on file, and I'm not disputing that there's a motion and a second on the floor, does not final stamp of approval on this. It puts it to the Judiciary Committee where it can be discussed. We could even from the Judiciary Committee, you could schedule a public hearing as we move forward, but that is where we're at with it. So I would, any other comments? We'll go ahead with Commissioner Fisher first, and I'll come back to you, John.
Thank you, Chairman Shea. You know, once again, I have no problems with it. I'm sure he's done his homework. Everything looks good. My point is, if he wanted to do a presentation, he should have been in the presentation bracket of this meeting, not come out of the audience with a question about Chief Executive signing an order, and Hattie calling on the Director of Planning and Zoning to answer questions, and then all of a sudden we get a full-fledged presentation. I just don't know if, you know, from a sales point, we're getting sold already. You know, we're getting sold on something without shopping around. You know, we should be listening to the public a little bit. And I mean, I don't see what holding it's going to hurt anything. I think it's going to process quick, go through the judiciary and all that. But I think as being a person in Butte-Silver Bow, we always like to hear from our citizens a little bit. I mean, I don't know much about wells or anything, and, you know, we had a heck of a discussion last time, and I realize my only concern is allowing a presentation during the agenda item. That's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. One second, I think Commissioner Hatcher, because Commissioner Thatcher was ahead of you, John.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. I just have a couple quick things. As far as him coming up and giving a presentation, I did ask Director Crane, Commissioner Fisher, you are always looking for the person with the most expertise in that area, and we were provided with that expertise tonight, one way or the other. And so, unfortunately, while he did not get under the presentation, I feel like it was, as Commissioner Fisher alluded to, as Commissioner O'Neill alluded to, he just answered my questions. I have my minutes and my notes from May 17, 2023 and June 7, 2023. And for that, for this specific public hearing, there were 2 proponents, 4 opponents. So there weren't 25 people that came out that day, just to clarify that. But as Commissioner Shea said, this could be sent to a resolution at which time they could come for public comment. And frankly, and I understand that not everybody takes part in government, and I understand that, but this has been posted on the agenda. Anybody could have come up tonight and spoken on this item on the agenda. So that's just, I guess, where I'm at. Thank you.
Commissioner Sorich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I guess I'm going to, we did ask we did ask the developer to do his homework, and that he's done his homework. So I'm going to ask the county attorney, do you have any comments for us that, where would we stand if we were to hold this? And also, would this constitute a hearing of any sort, so what we did tonight?
County Attorney Fyvie.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Sorich, so what I'm hearing is that the concern is that the citizens who initially opposed the subdivision aren't here tonight, and so the hesitation is to concur and place on file so the resolution can go through the process. This was obviously on the agenda. It has been on the agenda since Friday. That's their opportunity. They would have had an opportunity tonight, obviously, to speak in opposition to it. For this communication, if you look at the staff analysis, it goes through a lot of the requirements that have been satisfied. Much like the other communication with the Cornerstone Plaza that did not get segregated, we have a lot of the same information, the requirements and how those were satisfied. I know somebody made a comment, what does it hurt to move it? Well, this gentleman, I imagine, has a lot of money wrapped up in this subdivision, has been working on this for 18 months, and just to hold it for the sake of potentially having people show up in a week to oppose it, I think that could get a little slippery to just hold things to hold things. This communication has been noticed. As mentioned, there will have to be a resolution passed that will be, it's on the agenda tonight. It will be sent to the judiciary for, as you're aware, a couple of readings. People would have the opportunity to make opposition at that time, as they do tonight. So while you're certainly free to hold it in abeyance, I think the opportunity for citizens to be heard on this, there will be several opportunities later. So I think while you can do it, I don't know if it's the most appropriate avenue to be taking.
Thank you, County Attorney.
Thank you, Commissioner Sorich. Thank you, County Attorney Fyvie. Commissioner Reardon, did you?
I'm fine.
You're good now, okay. Commissioner Thatcher?
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. So then, at this time, I'd like to make a substitute motion to concur and place on file item number 16, communication number 2024-473.
Okay, we have a substitute motion to concur and place on file with communication number 2024-473. Is there anything on the question? Okay, so we'll vote on the substitute motion first. That is to concur and place on file. Commissioners, will you please vote? Got them all. Okay. Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
6 yea, 2 nay.
6 yea, 2 nay, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Fox. Thank you, Director Crane. Moving on to item number 25, communication number 2024-482, J.P. Gallagher, Chief Executive, requesting Council of Commissioners approval, sending out request for qualifications, RFQ, to prospective firms that would be interested in representing the interests of Butte-Silver Bow for lobbying services for the 2025 Montana legislative session for Butte-Silver Bow. I can't remember who segregated this. Commissioner Reardon, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, once again. I know JP isn't around, and in reading this communication, I was new with the council and a couple of years ago, and it was my understanding that part of the management in JP's office, I'm speaking of Mr. Cambage, that was one of his qualifications as being a lobbyist for Butte-Silver Bow. I also know that we have representation from a county entity that we pay throughout the state, which is MACO, and we're represented through that. I guess my question is that I get the interest of Butte-Silver Bow, but we always have people traveling we have a real good turnout from our chief executive and heads and all that stuff. And I was just wondering what his intentions were in filling this position and the costing to the taxpayers. So I just thought I'd put it out if you want to have some discussion. If not, then we can look at maybe hold it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reardon. I don't know the answer to that, unfortunately, and the chief executive's not here to explain it. So I'm not sure if the county attorney has had any conversations with the chief executive. Looks like maybe not. So I guess if you wanted to hold it, we could, and I would entertain a motion and we can get some clarification from the chief executive. Sure, yeah.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that communication number 2024-482 will be held until the next meeting. Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to hold communication number 2024-482 in abeyance. Is there anything on the question? Okay. Would everybody please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Okay, that takes us through the consent agenda. So moving on to section 3, ordinances and resolutions introduced to judiciary. Please note that there are 4 resolutions and ordinances that will be on judiciary next week. Moving on to section 4, ordinances and resolutions for final reading. Item number 1, Council Bill number 2024-05. Clerk, will you please read the title?
An ordinance repealing the current provisions of Chapter 12.17 entitled Parklet Pedlet Permits in its entirety and replacing it with a new Chapter 12.17 entitled Parklet Pedlet and Sidewalk Cafe Permits and providing for an effective date herein.
Thank you. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I move to place Council Bill number 2024-05, ordinance number 2024-05 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to place Council Bill number 2005, ordinance number 2024-05 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everybody please vote? Clerk, will you please record the vote?
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion 0 nay, motion passes. Item number 2, resolution number 2024-50. Clerk, will you please read the title?
A resolution authorizing and approving the sale of a certain parcel owned by the city and county of Butte-Silver Bow, known as Ella Lode West, South 13, Township 3 North, Range 8 West, Lot 19, and portion 20x25 in the city county of Butte-Silver Bow, state of Montana, and providing for an effective date herein.
Thank you. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. At this time, I move to place Council Resolution number 2024-50 on final reading and passed, having been length.
Second.
So a motion and a second to place resolution number 2024-50 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Would everybody please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion 0 nay, motion passes. Item number 3, resolution number 2024-51. Clerk, will you please read the title?
A resolution authorizing and approving the donation by the city and county of Butte-Silver Bow, state of Montana, of the real property described as lots 1 through 5, north 2 feet of lot 6, block 13 of the Butte Townsite Edition, within the city county of Butte-Silver Bow, Montana, to Butte Affordable Housing, Inc., for the purpose of constructing affordable housing and providing for an effective date herein.
Thank you. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. At this time, I move to place Council Resolution number 2024-51 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to place resolution number 2024-51 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Will everybody please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Moving on to Section 5, ordinances and resolutions for emergency suspension of the rules. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. I move for the suspension of the rules for the purpose of passing resolution numbers 2024-54, resolution number 2024-56, resolution number 2024-57 by waiving subsection 7 of Rule 36, the rules and order of business of the Council of Commissioners, thereby having it considered for advanced passage without reference to the Judiciary Committee.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rule to consider resolution number 2024-54, 2024-56, 2024-57 for advanced passage without referral to judiciary. Is there anything on the question? Will everybody please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay. Motion passes. Item number 1, resolution number 2024-54. Clerk, will you please read the title?
A resolution repealing Resolution 2024-43 and fixing the tax levy for the various funds of the joint high school and joint elementary districts number 1 through 4 at a rate which will raise the amount set out in the financial budget as the amount necessary to be raised by tax levy for each fund for fiscal year 2025 and providing for an effective date herein.
Thank you. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. At this time, I move to place resolution number 2024-54 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to place resolution number 2024-54 on final reading. Question? Will everybody please vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Item number 2, resolution number 2024-56. Clerk, will you please read the title?
A resolution recognizing and celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday of each October in the city county of Butte-Silver, state of Montana, and providing for an effective date herein.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about this for a minute. This is something that's been on all of our minds for a few years, and I was really lucky to be able to work with Western Native Voice, the Butte Native Wellness Center, and the Indigenous Peoples Day Montana Coalition to get their input and have them write this resolution. And I'd like to call on Mr. Donovan Hawk. He would like to speak on behalf of those groups. Please go ahead and turn on the mic at the bottom and just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Donovan Hawk, 929 South Main. I still get nervous public speaking. So, first off, I just want to thank the Council of Commissioners for taking this into consideration. I do have something I'd like to read from Western Native Voice. We have their civic engagement specialist from Western Native Voice, Keaton Sunchild. Western Native Voice supports Butte resolutions for Indigenous Peoples Day because it highlights the long struggle that many Indigenous communities in Montana have endured and represent a critical first step in acknowledging the truth. For generations, Indigenous Peoples Day in Montana have faced systemic oppression, including the loss of land, language, and cultural traditions, as well as traumatic impacts of forced assimilation and displacement. These painful legacies are rarely discussed in mainstream narratives, but including Indigenous Peoples Day, Butte is taking a meaningful step towards confronting the difficult history. This resolution provides a platform to honor the resilience and survival of Indigenous people who have fought to preserve their identity and sovereignty despite centuries of marginalization. It also opens the doors for a broader discussion about reconciliation, healing, and the importance of understanding the real history of Indigenous communities in our state. Western Aid Voice sees this resolution as a foundation for the future, one that can lead to greater efforts to address the social, economic, and political challenges that Indigenous people continue to face today. It is acknowledgement that the truth must be told and that the contributions and experience of Indigenous Peoples Day deserve recognition, not just on one day, but as part of the fabric of Montana's history and our future. And with that, I'd like to add it was a good collaboration to be working with Indigenous Peoples Day Coalition to get their take on it. And we looked at Helena's resolution, and there's a lot more input that was provided that actually allowed this resolution to be a more diverse and accepting. At the end of the day, we're all Indigenous from some part of this planet. And so this is to actually celebrate all of our diversity and recognizing the strengths that we carry in that diversity. And so I would appreciate if you guys would vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. I appreciate it. Any commissioners have any comments? Okay. Commissioner Thatcher.
Thank you, Madam Chair Shea, and thank you to you and everybody else that was involved in this. I feel very honored to make the motion. I move to place resolution number 2024-56 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to place resolution number 2024-56 on final reading. Anything on the question? Please vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay. Motion passes. For the record, the commissioners who are absent tonight, I'm certain they would have voted with us, and this would have been a 12-0 vote. So thank you for all your hard work. This is a great day for Butte. Moving on to item number 3, resolution number 2024-57. Clerk, please read the title.
A resolution authorizing the Butte-Silver Bow Sheriff and Jail Commander to exercise discretion to detain and hold any arrestee, offender, or inmate at the Butte-Silver Bow Detention Center when an outside agency does not agree to reimburse Butte-Silver Bow for prevailing actual costs and providing for an effective date herein.
Thank you, Commissioner Thatcher.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair Shea. At this time, I move to place Council Resolution number 2024-57 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to 2024-57 on final reading. Is there anything on the question? Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see Sheriff Lester back there guarding us. I just wonder if you'd step forward. I know the deal is that we're running short and all that. Maybe an explanation would be good for the people.
I was trying to stay behind the door for a few more minutes.
It was the helmet.
Madam Chair, members of the council, Commissioner Reardon, this resolution basically allows us to bill the Department of Corrections $110 a day to house inmates who have been sentenced to the Department of Corrections. So, currently right now we're not holding what we normally do. I think we have 14 currently. Normally we have somewhere between 20 and 25. So what we want to do is, and I was on the phone with the warden at the prison before I came here tonight. We're not angry with the prison. We're not angry with the Department of Corrections. We're just calling attention to the fact that we are housing inmates that are sentenced to the state, that we're not being reimbursed what it costs us to house those inmates. So that's basically what we want to do, is call attention to the fact that we'd like them to move the inmates faster to the Department of Corrections facilities, and we understand that they may not be able to do that. But we are going to bill them $110, and now we don't expect them to pay that because the legislature is going to have to change the rate. We do expect them to pay it at some point. We don't expect it to start, Friday. The governor is going to say, "Oh, I better make sure Sheriff Lester gets 110 this week." That's not going to happen. They're going to keep paying us 82, but at some point we may be able to recoup the difference in what we're we're spending versus what we're being reimbursed for, and that's our intention. And if we can encourage this legislature to adjust the rates and encourage them to take action to deal with overcrowding in just about every jail and detention center or in prison and cell, both men and women in the state, it's a crisis that system-wide, and so it just manifests itself at the detention center. It's a pretty visible situation. So I think it's a good start to try to get some of that money back, and it's a good move for the Butte-Silver Bow.
Thank you, Sheriff Lester. Follow up, Commissioner Reardon?
No, I'm good, thanks. Thank you.
Commissioner Sorich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think it's a good idea. I appreciate what you're doing, and I think it's a good idea. My thoughts are if we raise that up to 175, would it be better incentive to move them to Deer Lodge faster?
Sheriff
Well,
Lester.
I think we have to base our bill on what we spend, a reasonable amount. So if you want to make it 175, I'm good with that too.
Thank you, Sheriff Lester. I do like that you said that this kind of calls attention to the issue because I think that there are, as you know, I don't need to explain this to either one of you, addressing social needs at an early age and a young age and making sure that we're meeting the needs of our young people before they end up in the system is always a good thing for us to look forward to and to look for ways to address. And in the meantime, we do what we can to protect the taxpayers of Butte-Silver Bow. So I do appreciate both of you taking care of this part of this. So
Thank you. And again, I'm not like I talked to the warden on my way up here. We're not going to do anything crazy like drop a busload of inmates off at the prison with no place to put them or anything like that. We're not mad at anybody. We're in this together, and we just want to try to push everybody to work toward a solution a little quicker.
yes, I agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thatcher.
I think I made the motion already. There was
Did you
something
make the motion? Oh, we're on the question, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, there is a motion, a
Jeez,
second on
I
the
got
floor.
nervous.
I was just testing you. Motion and a second to place resolution 2024-57 on final reading. Would everybody please? Would anyone like to change their vote? Clerk, please record the vote.
8 yea, 0 nay.
8 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. Now I would ask for any public comment on any matter not on tonight's agenda. If there's any big burning questions on your mind, please come to the mic. Seeing none, I would like to call your attention to the calendar of the other meetings and events that are occurring over the next week, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Will everybody vote by saying aye? Aye. Those opposed?